Football is a game of moments, of legacies built and broken, and few players in modern football have ridden the highs and lows quite like Paul Pogba. Once hailed as a generational talent, now after years of scrutiny, setbacks, and a shocking doping ban, Pogba is on the verge of something few expected: a return. Reports suggest he's close to signing with AS Monaco, and it might just be the most important move of his career. Because for Pogba, this is more than just a comeback. This is a redemption arc, and it could define how history remembers him. But before we talk about what comes next, we need to remember where it all began. From a young age, Paul Pogba had the stature, the touch, and the unmistakable aura that made him stand out. He joined Le Havre's academy, a well-known talent factory, before making controversial switch to Manchester United's youth setup in 2009 at just 16 years of age. At Carrington, Pogba was electric, dominant in youth games, confident on the ball, and never afraid to show flair. But when it came to first-team opportunities under Sir Alex Ferguson, they were rare. Despite being on the bench for several senior matches, Pogba felt sidelined, undervalued, and by 2012 he made a decision that would set the course for everything that would follow. He walked away from Manchester United and signed for Juventus on a free. A bold move, some called it arrogant, but Pogba knew his worth, and soon so would the rest of the world. When Paul Pogba arrived in Turin in 2012, he wasn't a superstar yet, not officially, but Juventus knew what they had, and so did Pogba. In a midfield that was stacked with ballers like Pirlo, Marchisio, Vidal, most young players would have just faded into the background. But Paul Pogba? He thrived. Just months into his first season at Juventus, he was hitting screamers from 30 yards, controlling the tempo, dominating games like he was a veteran. He wasn't just playing alongside legends, he was starting to become one. By the end of that 2012-2013 season, Pogba had helped Juventus retain the Serie A title, and he'd won the Golden Boy award given to the best under-21 player in Europe. This was just the beginning. Over the next 3 years, Pogba would become a symbol of Juventus' resurgence, blending power, technique, and imagination in a way few midfielders could. With his unique hairstyle, his signature dab celebration, and those iconic long strides through midfield, Pogba was more than just a player. He was a brand, a movement, a generational force. Juventus won 4 straight Serie A titles with him in the midfield, and in 2015, they reached the Champions League final, taking on a prime Barcelona side. Of course, Juve would fall short that night, but Pogba's stock had never been higher. Europe's elites were circling: Real Madrid, PSG, even Barcelona, but it was Manchester United who made the move, breaking the transfer record in 2016 to bring him back to Old Trafford. Pogba had left United as a teenager with a point to prove. Now he was returning as one of the most sought-after midfielders on the planet. After 4 years of dominance in Italy, Paul Pogba returned to Manchester United in a blaze of headlines and hashtags and music videos. The fee, a world record £89 million. The pressure, immense. This wasn't just a transfer, it was a statement from Manchester United. At the time, United were trying to rebuild, and Pogba was meant to be this centerpiece, the homegrown talent who left to prove himself, now returning as a global superstar to lead the next era. And under Jose Mourinho, things did start with promise. In that 2016-2017 season, Pogba helped United lift the League Cup and the Europa League. He played the most minutes of any United player, and he looked ready to justify the hype. But that early promise quickly began to unravel. Mourinho's defensive, rigid tactics never truly unlocked Pogba's flair and freedom. Tensions between the two started to grow. Pogba was benched, subbed off early, publicly criticised, and the media, they were ruthless. Every poor touch, every misplaced pass, every Instagram post became a talking point. Pundits labelled him lazy, distracted, inconsistent, but few talked about how often he played through injuries or how unstable the club had become. From 2018 onward, Manchester United became a revolving door of just managers, tactics and false dawns. Pogba had brilliant moments, that masterclass against City, the run of form under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his heroics for France, but at United it was so stop-start, always flashes, never flow. The expectations were sky high, the support sporadic, and by the time his contract expired in 2022, Pogba left the club on a free transfer again. Full circle, but this time without the same optimism. Just questions and regret and the sense that something special had just been wasted by the player and, most importantly, by the club. After leaving Manchester United in 2022, Pogba returned once again to Juventus, a club where he once felt unstoppable. But this time, things were a little bit different. The return, of course, was full with nostalgia, but also risk. Pogba arrived carrying injuries and doubts. In his very first pre-season with Juve, disaster struck. A serious injury to his right knee kept him sidelined for most of the 22-23 season. In total, he just made 6 appearances that year. No goals, no assists, just frustration. For a player who once dominated midfields across Europe, he now seems stuck in a cycle of just rehab and setbacks, but no one was prepared for what would come next. In March of 2024, the verdict was handed down that Pogba tested positive for elevated levels of testosterone following a routine doping test and was given a 4-year ban from football, which was then reduced to 18 months. Pogba did appeal, and he still maintains till this day that he never knowingly took a banned substance, but unfortunately for him, the damage was already done. Sponsors disappeared, media turned cold, his name became a cautionary tale, not a headline of brilliance. The boy who once lit up Turin with wonder was now facing the possibility of never playing professionally again. This wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a free fall. And yet, in the darkness, the story didn't end. Somehow, against the odds, Pogba kept training, kept fighting, and has always kept believing. According to the report, Pogba has agreed to join AS Monaco on a 2-year deal, which means a fresh start in a familiar league and one last chance to show the world who he truly is. Paul Pogba has been misunderstood for most of his career. Either too flashy, too inconsistent, too focused on image, they said. But here's the truth. He's a World Cup winner, a player who once dominated Serie A. He's won trophies with Manchester United. He's a player who overcame poverty, racism, rejection, and rose to the absolute top. And if this Monaco move does happen, and when it does happen, it won't just be about football. It's a battle for his legacy. Pogba's not looking for sympathy. He's looking for that one last chance. And maybe, just maybe, it could define everything. But as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on Paul Pogba's return to football and how do you think he's going to do. I'll catch you guys later on. Peace.